Do we have to?
Hi, everybody.
Too late.
Oh, hi everyone. Yes,
Hello.
apparently we do have to.
Hello.
Uber Frank, it's so good to see you.
Uber Frank.
Tanya and Mazouz
Wow.
and Donna and Kevin. Who did I miss? Mike and Tim, I think. That's about it. Oh, Neil. Hi, Neil.
All right. Dr. Karim, thanks again for your contribution. On this particular show, because you're essentially a recurring contributor, even though for some reason it doesn't show up the same way on PayPal as the people that are doing recurring payments. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm just going to say, we have our normal recurring contributors on the classic method and no new patrons for this week. So it'll be kind of a short segment for the coffee fund. Dun, 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 dun.
Mike Kuipers, are you going to get snow or are you getting snow? I think it's coming from your way. We're looking for quite a bit of snow here today. I don't know, Donna Rose. I'm
Why,
not sure who
Michiganders are sending the snow up to Canada?
I believe so. It's coming across
Wow.
this way, I think.
Wow. Turnabout is fair play. Okay, keynote. Let me start that and then make that a smaller window. So far, how's
3 in
the...
a row, Kevin. Good job.
Your video and audio looks good, Jeff.
Thank you. So far, so good. That's good because I checked it this morning. I didn't want to say anything to you and Nick, but it's like, oh no,
No
it's
bueno,
not very
as you
good.
like to say.
Yeah, I
No
was starting
bueno.
to think, okay, how quickly can I pack everything up and then drive 45 minutes to an hour to go to a hotel? And finally, I just thought, nah, we'll just hope that it's okay.
Did
Well,
you do
it's
some
good-
praying, Jeff?
good
It
so
worked.
far.
If you
Yeah.
did some praying, it worked. Well, big
I
snow
actually
in the,
didn't. Should
Big
have.
snow in the Sierras where Steffi is, eh, Tim? She's at Lake Tahoe. Well,
Yeah, they're
Should
supposed to get a
another
huge
conference.
amount of snow.
Maybe she'll be snowed in.
It'd be funnier if she was snowed out.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
all snowed out.
Yeah, so what's happening over there at PTUK? What's is it a permanent down
Back up? I
tech?
don't know.
I guess since Nev retired last week, something went kerflooey.
Oh no. Yeah, he was the professional AV guy.
Yep, he's now in the land of the retirees.
Welcome to our club.
Love it.
Okay, did that show up? Yeah, it did. 2:30. Oh, Tim,
Oh, that's
we're already starting, are we?
talk about a dad joke. Wah, wah.
Oh, I hear the
Yep, the crazy
The birds.
loon. Yep,
yeah balloons.
it's funny.
I
they-
lost one on a vine, broken, fell off.
When you what?
My teeth.
Oh,
Oh.
really?
I
Today?
had porcelain teeth. It cracked and fell off.
Great.
Oh no.
Great, eh?
So this clock. It says atomic, like it's like tuned in to the radio waves or whatever to be set to be
Time signal.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, well it's just now turning 35, but that's like 30 seconds or more different from what my computer's saying the time is.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, yeah, does your computer make corrections for the fact that the signal might be coming across on the internet or via satellite. I mean, I thought that your phones could actually take the time signal from the GPS satellites, which are all atomic clocks, effectively. So it would also always be ultra accurate. Don't forget that.
I think it's just the internet,
that radio control clock has got to pick up some ancient old bloody HF signal that's been pumped halfway around the world.
I think it might be. I think that maybe this has fallen off a couple times. I think it's actually like a 1 minute off, but maybe the hands just are not aligning properly or something. I don't know.
This is the,
there's the real time right there.
NST official US time.
Of course, we're watching on video, which is, there's some latency involved there.
But not a minute.
No, not that much. I agree.
Only when I'm singing the Coffee Fun song, then it's about a minute latency, yeah.
It sounds like it, yeah. No, it's only about 3 seconds different than what I'm showing on my phone.
Yeah, that's about 3 seconds behind my phone too.
Yeah, that's pretty good actually. That's better latency than I thought it would have. Yeah, it's raining here in the Road Vessel studio. Pip.
Not in it, on it.
Well, yeah, thankfully I do
far.
have the. Yeah.
Be right back.
Hi, Pip. Hi, I haul boxes. Woohoo! Kevin, hi.
Look at this giant bottle of Topo Chico.
Oh, don't make that. That would be about $100 here, Jeff.
Probably. It's 750 milliliter.
Yeah.
Because that's all I can find in the
Well, I'm
in the
happy
store.
to have what I have because it's the only stuff I could find up here. So.
Did you see Tim's most recent joke there, Jeff?
No.
Oh God. There you go, everybody. Tim Van Ram. He'll be here
He's
all
in
week.
the room. Oh, wait a minute.
Neil Landwarn says he runs on OOT, official oven time.
That's that's going to be very accurate.
We have such a bunch of jokesters.
It's always midnight or 12
No,
o'clock.
it's always midnight.
Midnight. Oh, where does the time go? How are the audio levels, everyone, in the chat?
Talk about latency. Here we go.
Nick sounds
That's
great.
where the latency is. Yeah. Better than he's ever sounded or for quite some time. Oh, man. Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, Frank.
At least one person thinks we sound good.
Are you being frank with us, Frank?
Oh, talk about
Oh.
dad jokes.
I know. Sorry. That's all I got.
That's all you got, man.
Yeah, you know what? You guys, I'm not coming over or across as I did last show because you were talking about how things sounded different from me.
No, you
And
sounded Did you
And
hear
I
it
understand
when
what you were
were
talking about. When I started doing the editing, I thought, oh, crap, now I know what they're talking about because it was like just bordering on overmodulation kind of sound. I don't know what did it. I'm not sure what the settings were that I didn't change any. I don't know what was going on. But anyway, I just want to make sure from the outset here that I don't have something that's going to be a problem.
I don't hear it this time.
Okay, good. Late for lunch with the guys. Oh, okay, Tim. Well, say hi to the guys for us.
The guys. Those guys.
Those guys.
Them guys.
Hey,
All right.
Pip, did you see the, we're going to talk about it on the show, the Lear 35A that kind of veered off the runway and hit the Gulf Stream in Phoenix?
Arizona. No,
Scottsdale?
yeah.
Yeah. I wonder, it's a bit more bass than the rest. Yeah. Yeah, that was the thing last time. I don't have any equalizer or anything going on, so I don't know why. The only difference is, no, it's not even different. Liz and, hey, Nick, are you using the PR40?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Liz and Nick and I are all using the Heil PR40 microphone. Now they're running through different interfaces. There we go. Mine's black.
I didn't know they made a black one. Nice.
Big black
Yeah.
one, huh?
Maybe Jeff is reaching. Maybe Jeff
Well,
is
I've heard
reaching puberty.
once you go black,
You never go back.
yeah. Maybe
Guess
Jeff
what?
is reaching
Jeff's voice
puberty
is-
finally. my voice does crack a lot, actually.
Does
In fact, I was-
Are you ever singing away there at church and your voice cracks? Does that ever happen? Oh,
Yeah, and then when I'm doing my announcement, that sounds like I'm from Italy. When I'm doing my announcements,
Not really.
well, sort of. In my mind, I think. Anyway, yeah, I was announcing like the last hymn, the closing hymn, like last week in one of the masses, and it cracked like a puberty voice, like right at the beginning. I'm thinking, I hope nobody noticed that. And of course, everybody noticed that.
of course. And I
Yeah.
bet they teased you mercilessly.
They did, but that's okay. That's okay. Okay, I think,
Are we ready to roll?
yeah, let's see. I don't have to play a video right away, do I?
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, just before we start, just a reminder to everybody watching the video that this is more than 90% of the audience listens to the audio only. So we're going to try to stay away from focusing too much on the video, but we will be playing videos, but we're going to try to make it as much audio oriented as we can.
De-emphasize them.
De-emphasize the video as much as we can. But, if we're watching the video, then heck, why not look at it? But when I do the edits, I'll probably be just editing for just the aircraft communications. I'll probably take some of the gaps out that we're hearing on the live show recording, just so that it flows better on the audio. But anyway, just wanted to let you in to that. Okay.
And govern your
think,
feedback accordingly. You can send videos in, but they may not get shown in their entirety or anything like that.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Okay.
All right.
I didn't check Radio Roger. Let's see what it sounds like.
Okay.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
Sounds
Good.
great. You mean birthday boy? Radio Roger?
Yeah, we're gonna mention. He's done in the chat room, is he?
No, I haven't seen him yet.
Okay.
He's
Well, we'll mention
he's
that
out
in-
blowing out candles somewhere, I think.
Yeah, drinking champagne.
Yeah.
Who's he blowing? Candles.
Well-
Oh, okay.
Some girl named
I got
Jim.
it working out now.
Girl named Candles.
That's a weird name.
It is. White
boy.
Plains. They have all kinds of weird stuff they do up there. All right,
Okay.
let's do the countdown.
Hit.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 651.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door, with your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from the APG Road Vessel Studio. Today's show is recorded on the week of February 10th, 2025.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Get your light and he's flying by.
In today's episode, a commuter plane crashes in Alaska, killing all 10 people on board. And a flight taking off from Gatwick hits 2 large swans, causing damage, leaving blood and guts on the windshield and forcing an emergency landing. So get all settled in. Straight tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 651 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He is an award-winning TV and radio reporter currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in
New York City!
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a former U.S. Air Force pilot and retired Delta Airlines captain. And joining me today from his studio,
in Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
Former professional photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, and retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Hi there, Jeff. 651, would you believe it? Now, the most appropriately named flight for us, I think, would be in air. So INN, like you've gone to an inn or a pub. But in air flight 651, sadly, was a bombardier that crashed into a glacier in Austria. So it didn't work out well for them.
It wasn't in air very long.
I thought you were saying
in the air.
in error, which would be even more appropriate for
It would have been
APG
just
651.
in air.
Yeah,
Then it was on ice.
interesting. Oh, by the way, those little sounds you hear in the background, that's the raindrops hitting the skylight of the RBS. Just if you happen to be wondering. Thanks, Nick, and good to see you. And also joining us from the north woods of the Atlanta suburbs, race car driver, high performance, high altitude tail dragging, and complex endorsed commercial instrument rated pilot with an affinity for self-taught haute cuisine and anything with enough horsepower to kill him. It is Alpha Juliet, or we know him as AJ.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, everybody. Glad to be back. Good to see you guys.
Glad to see you as well. And then finally, last but not least, of course, from her studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer, it's Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody, from a snowy and soon to get snowier Toronto.
Yeah, sounds like it. All right, we'll enjoy that.
Have a good show, you guys.
Thanks, Liz.
Cheers, Liz.
All right. Since it is an aviation podcast where we cover aviation news, let's go ahead and do the news sounder.
Stand by for news.
All right, we're going to start off with this tragedy from CBC.ca, the Canadian Broadcasting Company. Is that right, Liz? Did I get that right? Corporation. Dang it. I knew I'd mess it up. This is an incident that occurred a few days back. Missing plane. Well, actually, they found it since they did this headline. A commuter aircraft, a Bering, B-E-R-I-N-G, like the Bering Strait, commuter plane, what is this model? A Cessna Caravan. Yeah. Crashed in western Alaska on its way to the hub community of Nome, and they located the crash site on Friday on sea ice. All 10 people on board died, authorities said. Mike Salerno, a spokesperson for the U.S. Coast Guard, said rescuers were searching the aircraft's last known location by helicopter when they spotted the wreckage. They lowered 2 rescue swimmers to investigate. The Bering Air single-engine turboprop plane was traveling from Unalakleet on Thursday afternoon with 9 passengers and a pilot, according to Alaska's Department of Public Safety. The Cessna Caravan left Unalakleet at 2:37 p.m., and officials lost contact with it less than an hour later. David Olson, Director of Operations for Bering, said that. There was light snow and fog with a temperature of minus 8.3 C, according to the National Weather Service. Anyway, said that the plane slowed and then dropped suddenly before the crash. Kind of almost sounds like a stall situation, but they're not really sure yet what may have caused that to happen. I thought it was well, anyway, they found the crash site and all 10 were deceased, unfortunately. But there was another article here that I was reading, and they're talking about the fact that the sea ice that the crashed aircraft was located upon, it moves like 5 miles per day. That's kind of an interesting accident investigation site, I think. Yeah, very strong currents. Yeah. Let's see, that was from NTSB Chair Jennifer Hamady. She added that the area where the Cessna 208 Caravan went down is also expecting some snow, which was expected to hinder recovery operation. Anyway, so wow, not really sure exactly what happened unless there's some updates on this. But so far, they said it seemed to slow and then fall out of the sky.
Yeah, but looking at the wreckage, it's all very contained in a very small area. So I think we can already, have a feeling for what might have happened in that the aircraft doesn't appear to have had much forward speed when it impacted. It was it effectively looks like it pancaked into the ground. So. Yeah, I would go along with your thought, Jeff. It could have been a stall spin situation, so it had a high vertical descent, very low forward speed, which might account for the look of the crash site. Yeah, and it's as you said, it's very contained in one small area, and it almost looks like it just pancaked in. It just like a flat spin, perhaps. Yeah. Yeah. Tragic. Why he did that, of course, in a straightforward cruise is hard to determine, but I guess that's what the investigators will be looking at. Yeah, I mean, it could have been maybe pilot incapacitation, perhaps, and whoever was sitting. I think the way they run these things, the Caravans, commuter aircraft, when only one pilot's required, they sometimes let or allow one of the passengers to sit in the co-pilot position or first officer seat. I don't know if that's the case with this particular company or this situation, this flight, but perhaps whoever was sitting there, if for some reason the pilot was incapacitated, if this person knew anything about flying and wasn't, able to do anything. I don't know. I'm just coming up with these crazy ideas. Yep. All right. Who knows? I'm sorry, what? Who knows? Oh, yes. Speaking of the NTSB, let's move on with an update regarding the accident, the mid-air collision in DCA, Washington, D.C. All major pieces of the two aircraft involved in the January 29 mid-air collision have been now recovered to a secure airport facility for further examination and documentation. And then we have some links here to the NTSB website. And I think we're also on the video showing some pictures of the trying to recreate or reassemble with the pieces that they have in this hangar to do their very thorough investigation. We'll have these pictures, of course, as always, in our show notes. So don't forget that that's available to you if you're listening to the audio-only podcast, where you can see what we're looking at as well. Or just go over to the link for the video, and then you'll see it in real time as we discuss. Anything really jump out at you regarding this, or really it's not much of an update other than they were able to recover all of the bodies and also all of the pieces of the aircraft involved?
Not
I
much
think
of an
it's
update here.
No,
Go
I
ahead,
think
Nick.
It's just nice to know the progress and that they're making every effort to recover the wreckage and get the investigation, well along.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
The guys on that other podcast did a really good discussion of that transition and the VFR routes and stuff like that. So that's a good one to
Yep.
get a little better
in fact,
view of
we mentioned that on and pointed everybody, all of our audience, to that episode 370 on our last show.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. But,
I
you would have
even
known
wrote
that
to
if you
them.
were on the show, but you weren't. Where the heck you were, but...
Exceeded my contract limits.
Okay. They did a very good job with it. They're very uniquely qualified to speak to all of the different perspectives and angles on that particular
Yes, and they gave
crash.
a very even-handed account without raising any real conclusions, but they covered all the facts and talked about the sort of environment very well indeed. So I wrote to them and said what a great show it had been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unlike our show where we just jump to conclusions immediately, which are
wild speculation.
Absolutely.
wild speculation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we only get 50% of them right as well.
I know. It's a whole different ball game over here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let's move on with this from the Aviation Herald, a preliminary report on the Azerbaijan Air Embraer 190, ERJ 190, registration 4 Kilo Alpha Zulu 65, performing flight 8243 from Baku to Grozny, Russia, with 62 passengers, 5 crew. Just a reminder, this happened on Christmas Day, 2024. So not quite a couple of months ago. Let's see, they were on their normally scheduled flight to Grozny, and they ended up having some issues with the weather. What they first had issues with was the GPS reception in their aircraft was not there, because apparently at the time that this flight was coming into Grozny, there was some activity involving drones. You'll remember that Russia and Ukraine are currently in a conflict, and the anti-drone, anti-aircraft missile systems were in effect, and they had also shut down the global positioning satellite systems, or jammed them in the area so nobody could use them. And so when this Azerbaijan Air flight was arriving, they realized that they couldn't fly the normal RNAV GPS type of approaches that they're used to flying, and they had to request the NDB approach, non-directional beacon, which is a very crude and old-fashioned navigation system that was used once upon a time before we have all the nice navigation stuff that we have now. And it's basically a radio station on the ground that's transmitting, and then we use a device that has a needle that points to it. So you kind of home to the non-directional beacon on the ground. And as I said, it's not very accurate. The minimums for weather are quite high because of the inaccuracy of this type of approach. The weather at the time, unfortunately, was the ceilings were quite low, especially for this kind of non-precision approach. And they attempted an approach. They had to go around because they didn't see anything. They didn't get below the minimums or the cloud ceiling. And so they... the thing that was a little frustrating about this whole thing for the crew is that they tried to explain to the air traffic controllers at Grozny that they didn't have the ability to fly an RNAV approach, although the controllers insisted on telling them that they were going to be getting vectors for the RNAV approach, and they kept having to remind them, we don't have GPS. We cannot do an RNAV GPS approach. We have to do the NDB approach. So there was a lot of confusion there, and apparently the air traffic controllers just didn't quite understand what was happening as far as their navigational capabilities. Let me look, Liz, and see what you're looking at. So, no, the slide that we're showing right now, Liz, is basically the condition of the aircraft, I believe, on the second attempt, the second go-around off of Grozny. And the fact that they're showing here is the fact that everything is operating normally at this point. But shortly after this simulated snapshot of the aircraft, there was a loud sound heard, and some type of an explosion, or, as I said, loud banging noise. And then the hydraulic number 3 system went to 0, and then shortly, within a few seconds, the hydraulic system on 1 and 2 went down as well. So they basically, all of their hydraulic systems were 0 pressure. And if you'll show that second one that looked like that one we were showing, Liz, that you were asking me about, the second version of it will show what the situation of the aircraft was after the explosion, the big sound that they heard. You'll notice that the hydraulic system in the upper right-hand corner is showing 0, or 0, 4, and 0. So essentially 0 hydraulics. And the controls, the flight controls, were basically not locked, but they were in their neutral positions. And so they could not activate any of the control surfaces, the ailerons, the elevator, etc. And you were showing some pictures of the, which are going to be in the show notes, of some severed hydraulic lines. And there are also some photos of some severed electrical wires. And the pitch trim system was also taken out by the explosion. This is that was a hydraulic reservoir we were looking at. A big piece of shrapnel entered the hydraulic reservoir. So what they have determined is that an anti-aircraft missile system proximity weapon exploded nearby and close to the tail of this Azerbaijan Air flight, and took out all these critical components. So essentially, they have an airplane that the only way they can control it is with the 2 engines that are still running. Kind of a similar situation to that Sioux City DC-10 Flight 232 United, I believe, where they had 2 engines, and they were basically trying to control the aircraft's path using just engine power. And so this same type of thing happening here. Let's see, where was I going to go with that? I don't know. Anybody can jump in if you like. Yeah, so after they were leaving Grozny and they were asking about the weather at various alternates, they realized that the weather was kind of low ceilings almost everywhere. They were going to go back to Baku, and then they realized again that the weather wasn't going to be good enough, especially with the situation that they were in at this point. And they asked to get vectors over across the Caspian Sea to Atku in Kazakhstan. And that's where the crash occurred. And it's just pretty amazing to me that the time that the first explosion occurred, and it wasn't long after the first explosion that they had the second missile explosion, and the shrapnel, and we're showing some of the holes in the fuselage skin. That happened within a minute, I think, the 2 explosions. But they flew that airplane with basically extremely limited control capability for more than an hour before they crashed on the other side of the Caspian Sea in Kazakhstan, which I think is just amazing to me. Yeah, I don't know. I really, honestly, I don't know how they did it. I think it was an amazing show of airmanship, in my opinion. I also want to point out that I have links to 2 excellent videos that cover in detail this preliminary report. Juan Brown from Blancalirio channel is one, and the other, and I have to find my show notes to make sure I get the name right for the second one. This gentleman I've referred to before, I think it's called Pilot Blog, and his name is I can't remember his name. David, I think, starts with a D. Anyway, does an amazingly detailed and he obviously speaks Russian, and he is reading, because we're looking in this report. They have the cockpit voice recorder transcript, and for the first part of it, it's in the international language of aviation, English, but that is at a certain point. They switch to their native language, the Russian language, and this guy kind of tells you exactly what they're saying at this point. So it's very, very interesting, and there's a lot of data available that they go over on both of these videos. But I would especially point you to the pilot blog, the Azerbaijan Airlines E-190 crash preliminary report. Let's see. And then there was one more thing before we discuss this further. There's another article that we have in our show notes dealing with this prelim from a Azerbaijan, Azertag.az, news source in Azerbaijan, that kind of basically breaks down the prelim report by saying that the flight experienced some bad weather. It was fully the flight, or the aircraft was fully airworthy when it started its flight. Both engines of the aircraft were operational up until the accident, the impact in Kazakhstan. The aircraft lost GPS signals in the airspace of the Russian Federation, also experiencing the same failure above Grozny Airport. Due to adverse weather conditions, the aircraft unsuccessfully attempted to land in Grozny 2 times, and then the captain decided to return to Baku. Following this decision, the CVR recorded 2 external noises within 24 seconds of each other over Grozny. Analysis of the CVR and flight data recorders show that 4 seconds after the first external noise, the third hydraulic system failed, followed by the failure of the first hydraulic system 6 seconds later, and the second hydraulic system 21 seconds later. Numerous damage was found on the fuselage. Photos and video recordings were taken. There was some confusion, by the way, in the airplane itself during this flight when the captain attempted contact with the cabin attendants, and the confusion is that they thought that there must have been some kind of a bird strike, although the flight attendant was saying that 2 of the passengers have gotten up from their seats because their seats had exploded. So I'm not sure what kind of bird strike would cause 2 seats in the back of the airplane to explode, but there was a lot of confusion, needless to say, what was happening with the aircraft. Anyway, what an amazing feat of airmanship that these 2 pilots portrayed or accomplished. Yeah, they almost made it. You're right, Liz. They got so close to getting the aircraft safely on the ground, and there were survivors. I think how many? 39, I believe, survived. And when they impacted the ground, the aft portion of the fuselage broke off, and that's where all the survivors were contained. Everybody else on the flight passed away. And I think that they said that they impacted the ground at about a 35-degree bank angle and like minus 5.6 degrees nose low. But it just wasn't a survivable impact angle. And we also have some interesting information in our show notes regarding the type of weapon that was used, and maybe Nick can address this better, obviously better than I can, because I never, in my military experience, never got into any kind of weapon systems. I never flew an airplane that had any weapons or missiles or whatever. But this particular device is what they call a continuous rod warhead.
Yeah, expanding rod warhead. I was very surprised when I saw these pictures. I immediately went, "Wow, I know exactly what that is," and I went, "Oh golly, they've recovered that from the inside of the aircraft." So what we've got now are some sort of they're like licorice sticks. You know, they're bits of metal, a few inches or 10 or 15 centimeters long, bent and distorted, but they're basically rods that have been twisted. And they went through the skin of the aircraft but didn't have sufficient velocity to come out the other side because they hit something on the inside of the fuselage. But they've managed to get these foreign objects out of the aircraft. And I think we can all see what they are, particularly if you're ex-military. So this type of warhead was on one of the first missiles that I flew with, the AIM-9 Papa, an early version of the Sidewinder missile. And the expanding rod warhead concept is that you wrap the warhead with a series of long, thin rods that are welded nose tail as around the circle of rods, so that when the explosive throws the rods out of the missile, because they're joined nose tail, they turn into a sort of zigzaggy circle as the warhead expands away from the missile, and the idea is that is really just like a flying buzzsaw. As the missile and the warhead go past the target, it just cuts through the major components of the aircraft. Eventually, of course, the warhead will continue to expand and it won't be a solid ring anymore. It'll actually start to break up, and that is more or less the effective distance of the warhead. It was generally not used in more modern missiles that might have faster speed or be all aspect, because it takes a while for that warhead to expand out to a lethal size to get to its full capacity, as it were, whereas a fragmentation warhead, which is the much more common modern warhead, is very quick to expand. So when you've got more accurate fuses and you need the warhead to position itself exactly to strike the aircraft, and you can get the firing of the warhead very accurate, fragmentation is much more effective. So that's what we get nowadays. But this is probably often an older style of missile that the Russians might be using. No less lethal when it works, and that's what you've got here. And these bits of shrapnel they've picked out of the doomed aircraft and downed aircraft are indicative of that. I think someone came up with a suggestion of what type of warhead it is, but I haven't been able to confirm that. But certainly it was a missile that was fired at this aircraft, and it did its job. After all, hitting an airliner with a missile is not particularly difficult. It's not a very fast and heavy maneuvering object. Target, and particularly since they had no idea that it was coming. They've no detectors on that. No, they wouldn't have seen it. They were flying away from it and may well have been in cloud. But that certainly confirms to me that this aircraft was brought down by a Russian missile.
Yeah, I was. I don't, as I said, don't know anything about these weapon systems, missile systems, but I was impressed that this thing is basically designed to make a continuous cut through the skin, underlying cables, hydraulic lines, and other flight or mission critical structures. It's designed to sever, and apparently it did its job on this ill-fated ERJ-190. Oh, Okay. Let me get to that. Metro Doc in our live audience says, Jeff and Nick, when you were in simulator training, did you engage in an engines only scenario? No, we never practiced these kinds of, or I didn't.
I did.
Either in the Air Force or the airlines, because I mean the chances.
It's very hard for you. You've got engines that are in line with the fuselage, so there's not a lot. You can't practice that in the Mad Dog.
Yeah, it would be kind of hard to actually turn the airplane as opposed to an aircraft that had wing-mounted engines. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'd be
we
really
used
out
to
of luck.
we used to practice it in the 340 only really when we had a bit of spare time, and we would have a go at degrading the flight controls down through all the various levels until we ended up flying it in the backup mode, which was the trim wheel and the rudders, and then the instructor would go, well, okay, well, what happens then when you lose those? And so then we played around just flying the airplane on the engines. So it is feasible, and we could do it. I mean, you couldn't do it very accurately because as soon as you got a bit of descent in, you've got to power up the engines and try and use the fact that the engines are slung beneath the wings and now going to help pitch the nose up. And if you're already going quite fast because you're in a descent, it's very easy to overspeed the airplane, and then the same occurs when you're climbing. The only way to get the nose down is to chop the throttles, and with that reduction in thrust will help pitch the airplane down. But effectively, you're waiting for the speed to bleed off, and it's very easy to get into a stall at that point because if the airplane's got too nose high. It'll be, I mean, if you go and read the accident report of the Japanese 747 that lost all its hydraulics, they flew that 747 around Japan for 45 minutes using engine-only control. And they were just in this huge oscillating flight path that went way nose high, way nose low, and they struggled to get the aircraft onto an even flight path, so they couldn't even really maneuver the airplane sufficiently well to get it out to sea and try and ditch it or something, and they eventually flew it into the side of a hill. However, we do know that it can be done very successfully. The A300 that I think was hit by a missile out of, was it Basra? I'm thinking it was civilian aircraft, but taken out by terrorists there. And they had a wing on fire, no hydraulics, and they successfully got the aircraft using engine only onto the runway. In fact, it did, although it ran off the side of the runway during the rollout, during the landing, the aircraft was relatively undamaged, and they even managed to fix it and tried to sell it afterwards. They got it back to an airworthy condition. No one bought it off them.
Lightly used.
DHL aircraft, according to Metro Doc.
There you go. So, I mean, it is feasible, and we know that if you've got underslung engines, you can use them both to turn the airplane and pitch the airplane, but it needs a lot of careful control, anticipation, a lot of really cool-headed work by whoever's on the throttles, it's people that have achieved it to any form of success. The Sioux City guys were lauded, and quite rightly, because they saved so many of their passengers. The DC-10 that had that major failure there. And that's one of the most famous ones, mainly because of the fantastic CRM that their captain displayed in coordinating his crew and getting them to do the right stuff to get their airplane down safely.
Yep, Captain
Al
Haynes.
Very hard.
Yep.
Yes, indeed.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. The DHL that you were speaking of, that was able to manage to get it on the ground.
Yes, with a burning wing, and the fact that the flight engineer was trying to keep both engines running, despite the fact that he was pumping fuel into the fire. That was one of the most remarkable parts of the story. That crew just worked so well together to save that aircraft. There were only 3 of them on board, so it doesn't get a lot of recognition because it was a cargo airplane.
Right.
Yes. Well, we got it flying again.
Yeah. Just slightly used. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. Oh, yeah. Those darn birds.
These aren't just swans. These are giant swans, I guess.
Well, here, let me tell you about it from the Aviation Herald. Simon's wonderful website. A TUI Airways Boeing 737-8 MAX registration.
There's your problem.
There you go. Golf Tango Uniform Mike Papa performing Flight 432 from London Gatwick to SAL, Cape Verde. I've never heard of Sal. Sal. He's the bartender over there at that Italian restaurant. Yeah, better call Sal. Was climbing through about 1,000 feet out of Gatwick's runway 26 left when the crew stopped the climb at flight level 080 after 2 swans, as Captain Nick mentioned, 2 giant swans, impacted the aircraft nose and windshield. Now, I would say that the aircraft impacted the swans, not the swans impacted the aircraft.
I think you're probably right there.
Maneuverability is right away, right? So
yeah, that's true.
The swans are supposed to, I don't know if it's really true or not, they sort of mate for life. So, if a swan loses its mate, it can be really quite... So I'm hoping that actually this was a loving pair of swans, so that they both died together.
They're in swan heaven together.
Well, perhaps they didn't have any signets. We don't really know, but
yeah. And this is Valentine week, That's
well, yeah.
Yeah, lots of Snarge there for sure.
Very impressive. I mean, they don't build these airplanes very well. The fact that they've got all these holes in them, just a couple of swans.
Yeah, well, those are pretty darn big birds, aren't they?
That's a good-sized bird. These windshields fared better than the last one of these that we talked about.
That's true, yes.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't try and use the windshield wipers to get the Snarge off, but...
Do they have windshield washers on there?
Well, they used to. They used to have anti-icing stuff in it, but they discovered that was carcinogenic. So they took it all out.
Yeah, it was this orange stuff. It smelled really good. I sniffed it a lot before they removed the liquids from it.
That explains so much.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, they didn't have a very good view out of the front, did they? They must have struggled a little bit to land with all that muck over the windshields, and they did quite a bit of damage. But a good job getting the aircraft back. I'd just like to point out, though, that those 2 pilots are now incarcerated. They've been put in cells in the Tower of London.
Really?
Because, of course, all the swans in the United Kingdom are owned by royal prerogative by the king. And they're a protected species. Nobody is allowed to kill them. So as soon as the king found out that he arrested at the Beefeaters, go down and arrest these 2 pilots, and they've now dragged them off to the Tower of London, and they're due to be executed very shortly, I believe.
As it should
public
be.
Execution, probably. They'll erect a gallows somewhere, and so the swans are not only the property of the king. He actually goes around and counts them. Well, he doesn't, but he has a whole royal retinue of people who conduct an annual sort of census on the swans, and it's called swan upping. And swan upping has occurred in the United Kingdom from the 12th century onwards. And they go out in punts and other historic boats, and they carefully capture and examine all the swans for their health. And the king's swans on the Thames are never ringed, but all the other swans are, because there are 3 organisations that are allowed to claim the swans, and a couple of them are sort of those guilds. I think there's the Guild of Vintners, which I quite would like to belong to. That sounds like a good guild. Yeah. And the other one is they're worshipful companies. Worshipful Company of Vintners and the Worshipful Company of Dyers. And I'm pretty old, so I'm probably going to die quite soon, which would be useful. So no, except they spell it differently, D-Y-E-R-S. So if you want to have something nicely coloured to dye in, that's the company to get involved in. So they're the 3 organisations that are allowed to claim ownership of the swans, particularly in the Thames. This is where this occurs, in the Thames. But
there's...
Oh, they did, yes. There's another show title. Exactly right.
But upping swans, it sounds vaguely inappropriate.
It does. In the 12th century, it probably would have been even more inappropriate, but yes.
What's he doing to that swan?
He's checking it out.
Examining.
Yes. They do have a special garb when they go out and do their swan upping, yes. But I thought you'd be interested in that little bit of history.
Good stuff. Whoa.
Too much.
Well, I'm sorry.
Especially after that story.
Yeah, things were. I had to try to cover up with an insulative device, the skylight, to try to cut down on the sound of the raindrops. I know, a little bit too late for that now, Jeff, but it got really, really dark when I did that, so I had to turn all the lights on. Okay.
I feel like you've made enough popcorn at this point. You've been making popcorn for an hour.
I apologize for that irritating noise. Oh, do I? Okay. Let me get ready for that then. Is that the next item? All right. Let me... Oh, finally? We get to do the Grand Rapids thing? Yeah, we've had that in our news segment for quite some time. I guess I'll do that then.
That's an interesting
You have to explain
point.
for the people that are not looking at the video what
Peter
the
has suggested that since scientists and engineers have figured out how to land rockets vertically, surely we can create software to smoothly fly on asymmetric thrust. Airbus have already done that, but to have that paid for, because it's such a rare occurrence, to have that system paid for and fitted by an airline, it would be pretty unusual. And I don't think the aircraft certifiers, CAA, FAA, etc., consider it suitable to make that a requirement by law. Because the likelihood of it happening is pretty remote. So
there is some of that in model airplane flying, remote control airplane flying. There's some smaller call them park flyer models that they don't have any lateral control surfaces. They're two electric motors, and your turning is effectively speed one up, slow one down.
Cool.
But again, the response time on an electric motor is much faster than that of a turbine. So you got spool up time to think about in that, and that's adds a lot of complexity to that issue.
Good point.
Yeah.
They were hung,
tech-
drawn, or going to be hung, drawn, and quartered, I understand, actually.
But they didn't
Texas
cover them with like
and
bird
the
food
shark.
and have the swans peck them to death.
Yeah, that's another way. It takes a bit longer. But
Yeah. Texas and LeShock's question was hanging or beheading? And
Yes.
then we just heard Captain Nick's answer,
yes.
along with commentary from Alpha Juliet.
Being hung, drawn, and quartered is quite a
Now,
nasty
hanged,
way to go.
sir.
Hanged, drawn, and quartered.
Yes.
Are you well hanged?
Well, no, see, that's the wrong use of the word. Hanged
Oh, really?
and hung are definitely two different shows.
Anyways,
Okay. Moving on. Let's address this next one, an item that we've had in our news folder for quite some time. And this occurred up in Michigan. An aircraft took off and ended up having to divert to Grand Rapids. This is a PC-12, a Pilatus PC-12. With I forgot all the details. I'm not going to play the video except I will play a video, but it doesn't really have all the information regarding this. It was at first when I heard about this story, basically what happened is the tow bar is still attached to the nose wheel assembly of the Pilatus, and I thought, well, hopefully, there are not too many people on board the aircraft, but apparently there were, I think, 7 or 8 passengers, something like that. They ended up having to divert to Grand Rapids because the runways are a little bit longer there. They have better emergency services, etc. And there was some video taken that shows the aircraft performing a low approach just for them to assess the situation. I guess this company must have had some mechanics in residence at Grand Rapids Airport that were out there kind of assessing what was happening with the aircraft, and then it went around and did basically a 270-degree maneuver and landed on one of the other runways, and we have some video of that. So let me get to the point where I can actually push the button to play the video of Liz, if you'll put that on the okay, and here we go. Hopefully we'll be able to watch a little of the video of the Pilatus coming in for the low approach, and then as it gets a little bit closer here, you might be able to pick out the very long tow bar hanging down.
Oh, yeah. There it is.
And actually, it appears that he tried to actually touch the runway with it, maybe in an effort to knock it off the nose wheel, but that didn't work. It was still hanging.
It looks like he knocked his nose wheel off successfully.
I was going to say, I don't know if I'd try to knock the nose wheel off.
I'm sorry, the nose, did I say nose wheel? Yeah, the tow bar is what I meant to say. So here they come in for the final. It's hard to see, but there is a tow bar still hanging down. The nose wheel gear assembly is kind of partially extended, but not good enough to make a normal landing.
Main gear looks
Obviously.
good. But nose
mains
wheel
look
has
fine.
completely disappeared now. Been bent back, I think, by the tow bar.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, with the way he came in and landed very, very slowly, very nose high, that's the best possible
isn't it?
thing you can do in that scenario.
Yep, and then at the very end, you can only hold it up so far, and then the nose comes
Yeah, that's what she said.
slamming down. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Liz. The passengers were probably, whoa, because, I don't know. But
my
you're
first
right.
job in aviation when I was 19 was working at this flying school, and part of the flying school was taken up by the boss who sold Cessna aircraft, and he had a 410, a Cessna 410 twin-engine thing, not quite as big as this, and he was taxing out. I don't know whether he was displaying it to a customer or just using this aircraft to go from A to B, but as he taxied across the pan, I ran out and, gave him the crossed arms and made him stop because he still had his tow bar attached, just like this bloke. Now, it wasn't quite as big a tow bar, but I'm sure it would have had a similar effect. He just glared at me. He was not a nice person. I did not enjoy particularly working for him, but I braved going in between the two propellers and removed the nose wheel, the tow bar for him, and showed it to him, and he never ever thanked me or even mentioned it afterwards. He was, yes,
what a
that
guy.
kind of person. Yeah, lovely. Great example.
Were you holding up the tow bar like a big giant single digit?
Yes.
Maybe that's why he didn't thank you. Take this and stick it up your nose wheel. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, sure, we can do that. Okay, we're going to jump around a little bit. We're getting some direction from our producer, and we're going to jump over to I. So this is something that came to our attention this between shows here, and we played a video from Mentor Pilot. On the last episode, we received some feedback from Nigel. What did he call himself? Hong Kong Nigel, but it was like a very self promoting. What was that? What did you say? What did you say, Liz?
Self-congratulatory.
Yeah, the best. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so we received some feedback from Nigel, Hong Kong Nigel, last episode, referring to a video that Mentor Pilot produced, and then somehow I became aware of this thing that just was released by Mentor Pilot regarding a potential issue for those who are flying aircraft with a certain type of engine. I think it's the LEAP engine.
Yeah, not just LEAPs, but I mean, he said this system is on the LEAP 1 Bravo, which was the engine fitted to this 737 MAX. Also the LEAP 1 Alpha, which is on some of the Airbus A320 family. But he said the same system also exists on the Boeing 787, and I think he said the Boeing 777. He zeroes in on the 737. Yeah, the Dreamliner and the 777, because the combination of the engine design and the aircraft's air conditioning system made it this particular aircraft vulnerable. So, yeah, he's mentioned that there have been 2 instances now of engine failures on the 737 with this engine that has led to, and both have been quite recent, led to a very significant influx of smoke and toxic fumes into the aircraft. And he said the first one was with the right engine, and the latest one was with the left engine. And the difference between the two is that the right engine feeds almost exclusively, or does exclusively feed air that is bled from the engine through the air conditioning system into the cabin. The left engine primarily feeds its air into the cockpit, and it only feeds a small portion of the air into the cabin. And so the difference with regards to the flight crew was very significant on this second instance when the left engine had a problem. Now, let me explain what's occurring. These engines have got extremely large blades. And because of that, because of the size of the front fan, and that's where it gets a lot of its efficiency and a lot of its thrust, almost all of its thrust from. from the big front fan at the front of the engine, and it's considerably larger than previous generations, which means that if a blade breaks off this front fan, the magnitude of the imbalance is much larger than on previous generations, and that the vibration that occurs after you've had a partial blade loss or an entire blade loss can be extremely dangerous. It vibrates not only in the engine, so the engine has an awful lot of stress put on it, but that stress goes through the engine cowling and the pylon, the whole thing. Now, they could make the blades stronger, but that kind of defeats the object because they're going for lightness and efficiency in these engines. So what they've done is they have designed they call it an LRD, a load reduction device. And until this recent incident, I don't know if it is yet in the Boeing manuals, there is no reference at all in the Boeing documentation to this design of the engine. So none of the pilots...
That's the first time that's ever happened.
Well, yes,
like a system that's there that nobody mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. So no one knew about the load reduction device. Now, what happens is if a blade breaks off and the vibration on the front of the engine where the fan is sufficiently high, the supports that steady the front fan are designed to break. So they break, and as a result, the front of the engine is freed up to move its center of rotation to accommodate the change in the center of gravity of the fan, so that it now rotates in a position that is giving less vibration. It does that completely naturally because of the rotating engine. But the engine is now, the front of the engine is now basically free to move, which is, I think, quite a clever design feature. He said the one thing that's not the problem. The problem is that directly behind the fan, there is quite a large oil sump. And that oil sump obviously feeds part of the engine, and it's called oil sump A. And when the front of the engine shifts because of the activation of the load reduction device, the bearings there at the front of the engine allow all this oil to very rapidly empty into the compressor section of the engine. So into the blade area. Now that's where the air that is fed off the engine to go and pressurize the aircraft is taken from. So all this oil, all this toxic oil, is allowed to go into the compressor section, and now it goes woof into the air conditioning system. On the left engine, the one we're talking about, that air conditioning system is fed almost exclusively into the cockpit. So the concentration of these toxic oil fumes. Now, he's got documentation, and this is something you'll have to look at and come to your own conclusions. But the documentation he has is that the toxicity and the makeup of this oil is so dangerous to human health that it can kill you in 35, 37, 39, around that seconds. It's a very short time before, if you breathe this stuff for a sufficient length of time, you're going to be incapacitated, if not killed. So that is a very significant risk when that is being pumped into the cockpit. Now, fumes in the cockpit is one thing, and smoke and fumes in the cockpit, we're all trained to deal with it. And we deal with it by grabbing the oxygen mask that we have beside us. And it's a one-handed operation, or can be. You grab it, slap it on your face, release it, and it clamps onto your face. And now, if you've got the mask set correctly to 100% oxygen, you can get it under overpressure as well, which is what you generally do when there's a real danger of breathing something nasty in the cockpit, you could just get pure oxygen under pressure to stop anything leaking into the mask, and you'll be fine. There are some aircraft still with old-fashioned ones where you have a separate set of goggles, because along with breathing this stuff, it gets in your eyes and it makes it it makes your eyes sting, and it becomes hard to see. So you also have to put a separate set of goggles on. Now, I believe that's already being attended to, and the recommendation is that all aircraft with this potential threat, they have the type of mask that has integrated a mask and goggles all in one piece, so you don't have a separate action required to put it on your face and get the mask on, and then do your headsets and all that stuff over the top, which you also often needs two hands. So you think, well, okay, that's fine. You should be able to do that within the potentially lethal time of 37 seconds, whatever it was, 39 seconds, very short time. But he said, okay, that's fine. But this guy is a very well trained pilot, and I think he does simulator work and training. So, he's one of the guys who sits in the back and gives you problems. So he knows where the critical phases of flight are. And he said, if this happens in a critical phase of flight on takeoff, okay, you get a bird down that left engine, fan comes off, the LRD activates and the cockpit fills, but you're now at the point at which you are committed to carrying on the takeoff. And so you continue to carry on the takeoff and get airborne. Now, no drills normally commence in this type of a situation until you've passed 400 feet. 400 feet. That is, generally speaking, written into most airliner emergency drills. It certainly was in all the airliners I flew, and I flew Airbuses. So you basically sat on your hands until you got to 400 feet, and then you started taking actions. And he is quite rightly very concerned that all that time that you're not starting your drills, one of which the actions will be to don a mask, you will be breathing these toxic fumes. And when you start your drills at 400 feet and you take the actions, the time it will take you to complete the actions and get your mask on, he said, will exceed the time that it might kill you. These fumes might certainly incapacitate you, might indeed kill you. That is this wonderful guy, and I call him wonderful because I've watched a lot of his stuff and I do like him very much. He's a very even-handed chap, and he explains it much better than I am in this little précis. So I urge you, if you are a 737 pilot flying this type of aircraft, to take a look at it, give us your thoughts on whether you agree with the mentor pilot's conclusions. I'd be interested to know. And what are your unions? Are your unions aware of it? Do you know if they're doing anything? Is your airline aware of it? Do you know if they're doing anything? What he says is the FAA have already decided that it's not important enough to come out with a legal requirement for action to be taken. I forget what the formal name for it was. I can't know if you can remember, Jeff.
I don't remember either, yeah.
Yeah, the FAA have already decided that it's not important enough for them to issue a directive straight away. Now, they did, in fact, assemble a committee to take a look at the issue, and that's what their conclusion is. Now, whether they can have their minds changed or whether they will subsequently look into it further and come to a different conclusion, I don't know. The mentor pilot used to fly 737s, I believe. So I
think he still does.
All right. So he's obviously got some some money in the game. So he's very interested to see what people do about it, because there is the potential. Now, he's mentioned the fact that quite often you need a fatal accident to occur before action is taken. And he said this is one instance where he can certainly see a potential fatal accident occurring, and we've got the chance to take action now before it happens. And should we do that? He certainly thinks so. I'd be very interested to know your thoughts. Everyone listening, your thoughts.
Yes. Yeah, so if you're out there flying the 737 MAX or any aircraft that has this kind of a big, modern, new generation fan that has the LRD, the load reduction device or system.
That's it.
Let us know what you think about this. I mean, he is very concerned about it, and you can tell in his very well done video, and we're going to have it linked in our show notes. And we thought it was important enough for us to mention it on our show because, who knows, might be able to save some lives out there if people are aware of this potentially disastrous situation.
Now, interestingly, Kevin S. in the audience there has said, why isn't the bleed automatically isolated on high vibrations? That's exactly what Mentor Pilot is suggesting is done. And he believes that it only requires a software change in the aircraft software for that to occur, such that if the LRD is activated, the airflow that goes into the air conditioning system from the left engine, or you could do it from both engines, I guess, is automatically isolated. And he said it would be a very simple fix, but the FAA have decided not to take action and not to recommend that. So there you go.
The FAA and EASA as well.
Oh yes, that's
declined
true. Yes,
to do.
Yep.
Yeah. So. Is this overblown? Is it something that people should be concerned about or not? We kind of feel like he makes a very good argument for paying attention to this, and in the meantime, you might want to consider a situation where you are in that hypothetical that he presents. And I was talking to Captain Nick about this, is that my reaction immediately if there's smoke coming in is just to reach up and hit the air conditioning switch to off, turn the pack off on the affected side.
Yeah.
Almost immediately, to give yourself a fair chance until something is done about this. I don't know. I'm not recommending that you do that, but
No.
I think that might be what I would do personally if I were still flying.
For years, we flew in the Airbus A340s, packs off during takeoff. Now, we did it to increase performance, but there seems to be some argument that, no, we don't want to change procedures. It'll be confusing. We went packs off, bleeds on, packs on, packs off, bleeds on, bleeds off, packs on. In my years on the aircraft, they just could not. They came up with all these different combinations to stop bleed valve chattering and all sorts of things that they discovered, and backflow in systems, and our procedures were continually changing. It wasn't a problem really. So I don't think it would be a problem for the average 737 pilot. They're all very smart people. So, and this is part and parcel of being an airline pilot.
And just at a minimum, I mean, just what would be the harm in just taking off with just the left pack off? I mean, it's not great for the passengers, of course, if the right engine suffers a bird strike or some kind of a, an engine severe damage situation, early in the takeoff or whatever. But as we've mentioned, and as Captain Nick mentioned, the volume of the cabin is so much greater that the concentration of these toxic gases is much lower. But in the cockpit area, there's much less volume, and it's gonna potentially harm you / kill you a lot faster. And so
I
don't
haven't
know.
even gone into the difficulties in doing your drills due to the intensity of the smoke that is created, or was created in this case of a left engine, because the crew found it extremely hard to read instruments, to even read their checklists because of the thickness of the smoke. So that, that 37, 39 seconds could well be extended much longer because of the problems you have in actually doing the drills. So it's not just a matter of, as soon as you start the drills, you can whack through them. You can't. It's very hard in those kind of conditions.
Right. Yeah, it's a video definitely worth a watch, especially if you're an airline pilot flying any of these airplanes that have engines equipped with this kind of a load reduction device. Could save your life. Well, it's a concern to passengers as well. You're right, Liz. But the people that are gonna, at the sharp end of the ship are going to be the ones that are going to determine whether or not it's a happy, safe outcome or not. So.
Yeah, if those two guys up the front are incapacitated, everyone else in the airplane is going to have a big problem, and the least of their hassle will be some smoke in the cabin.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's
thank
why
you,
I always
Captain
give my
Nick.
business card. Every time I get on a commercial flight, I always give my business card.
And what does your
Good for
business
you.
card say?
Pilot.
Me pilot.
Pilot. Backup pilot. At your service.
Professional backup pilot.
All right. Why don't we do at least, let me take a look here. We've already done that one. That might take a while. Yeah, let's do that one and then end with the NOTAM announcement. Okay. Let's see. We're going to go with G, crew. And let me, I think that involves some video, and let me get that queued up as well. Right. I had the other one queued up, but okay, now I'm good to go. Okay. This, I think it just happened pretty recently. Is that right, Liz? Yeah. I'm not sure. Okay, yeah. So this is from the Aviation Herald, and we also have a video from YouTube. Is it GOL, G-O-L, or G, or how would you, is it pronounced GOL? Like GOL? Yeah, like on a football pitch or no field. What do you call it? The what's the thing that they call it a field? The soccer field or the football field? Pitch?
Yes.
Okay. I thought pitch, then I think, well, that was probably just for...
Well, it's also a cricket pitch.
Cricket. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think
all right, so...
okay.
So this from the Aviation Herald. A GOL Transportes Aéreos, Boeing 737-8 MAX. Another MAX. Registration Papa Sierra Golf Papa, performing flight 1674 from Rio de Janeiro to Fortaleza in Brazil. Fortaleza was accelerating for takeoff from Rio de Janeiro's runway 10 at 22:09 local time. So it's late at night, dark, when a bang was heard. The aircraft veered sharply to the right toward the right runway edge before steering back toward the center line while the aircraft slowed down. After coming to a stop short of the end of the runway, the captain announced that they had collided with a service vehicle on the runway. The passengers disembarked via mobile stairs onto the runway. And I have a little passenger video to play. Are we ready for that? Okay. All right, here we go. So we're rolling for takeoff.
Rolling down the runway, throttles open wide.
hit something apparently, and now we're showing passengers deplaning. Lots of snow. Wow, it's really cold down there. No, that's foam, isn't it? Oh, here we go. Here's the captain. And maybe AJ, you can tell us what he's saying.
No, I can't.
That was your opportunity to make something up.
A Tesla car. Is that like a Tesla car?
Is it dislocation?
Very similar.
Okay.
Okay, and then there's some more passenger video, people lining up to... It doesn't look like they're in a full-on everybody get out as fast as we can kind of a scenario. Looks like they have some air stairs drawn up or pulled up to the aircraft, and there's a lot of annoying noises happening from the airport rescue vehicles.
A lot of annoying lights, too.
Lots of annoying lights. And people looking around going, like, what the heck? All right, so there you have it. Not much. Just happened today? Oh, wow. Okay. We're on
Breaking
top
news.
of it. Yeah. Okay. So very, very recent accident. Now, did you happen to show the picture of the service vehicle, Liz? Oh, okay. So they say in this article that there were no injuries, and I'm looking at this airport service vehicle, wondering how the heck could there not have been some injuries to the person/persons in this vehicle, unless this thing was just out on the runway parked and nobody in it?
They forgot where they parked it.
Yeah.
Has anybody seen my truck?
It's a bit like Steph's Jeep. It is completely topless, isn't it?
It is. I mean, the whole top part of the cab, I think this is a pickup truck. The cab of the pickup truck is completely gone. I mean, the top, like from the top of the door and the hood level is just like completely gone. And it was upgraded
an expensive
to a
upgrade.
convertible. Yeah.
Taking your 737 out.
Eric says that they were a very short maintenance crew. They were like, it was hard for them to see above the dashboard. Apparently, when they were driving
That's what happened.
around.
They couldn't see the airplane.
Oh, that must have been it. Yeah.
Anyway, you got to look at this picture in the show notes of this service vehicle. I mean, I had to reread it. I went back. Wait a minute. You're saying that there were no injuries? Maybe they're just mean the people on the airplane. There were no injuries, but wow, that looks pretty impressive.
Wasn't there an
right
advert for a Jeep manufacturer or something where an aircraft landed and put its nose onto the back of the Jeep?
No, that was a homemade movie called 405 the movie. I've seen that one. He lands on the empty 405 and this guy's driving down it in a Jeep Cherokee. Yeah, that was a
real story.
It was a great movie.
I wonder if they
hilarious.
were just trying to reenact it. Didn't quite get it right.
Missed it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be on landing, not takeoff. Oh, sorry. Forgot to brief.
Wow.
Got the wrong airplane. That's happened before.
I can't wait to hear a little bit more about exactly what happened here. That's
But a good advert for the vehicle. It looks like you could drive it away, doesn't it?
Yeah,
probably.
If you could find the steering wheel in there.
Is it a Toyota Hilux? Guarantee you can drive it away.
Yeah. Interesting.
Wow. Yeah, we need to. Yeah, that's right. We know some people down there. Hey, you people down in Brazil.
I haven't been to the Copacabana for ages.
I just got the translation for that pilot announcement, and the first part of it was, so what had happened was.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, my
Still
first officer was holding my beer when...
That's all you have, AJ?
That's all I got so far.
Okay. Oh, man. All right. Well, as I said, we'll definitely try to figure out what's going on with that situation on a future episode. Yeah, we do, and we do know some listeners down there in Brazil. Many actually. Maybe they can send us some feedback and let us know what happened there. Okay, and then we're going to end up the news segment with item J in the news, and this. Now, I remember this happening back in December of 2021, and we talked about it on the show that they decided to change notices to airmen to notices to air missions, and I remember we weren't really completely on board with that, or at least I wasn't. I thought it was kind of ridiculous myself. But anyway, this article says aviators who have struggled with the term notice to air missions as a rebrand of notice to airmen are now in luck. Notice to airmen has returned. NOTAM, the move reverses a 176-page rule from the previous administration that adopted the notice to air missions name change. NOTAMs are used to provide pilots with information about temporary flight restrictions and changes in airspace, special flight ops, airport equipment outages, runway conditions, of course, birds, don't forget about that, navigational outages, weather station malfunctions, pretty much anything. Cranes,
dogs.
Yeah, I'm trying to, as I'm reading this, I'm trying to move over to this. Okay, yes.
That's what NOTAMs are. They're just a bunch of garbage.
That's pretty much sums it up. Pilots are required to be familiar with NOTAMs along their route of flight as part of FAR 91.103, quoting, each pilot in command shall, before beginning a flight, become familiar with all available information concerning that flight. So, again, just thought we'd let everybody know that it's back to the way it was. So that's going to end it for this episode's news segment. And now it's time to get to know us. Push that button right there. Oh, sounds like the rain has almost stopped here. Sorry. And the snow's just starting. Oh, wow.
Snow's
Circle of life.
than rain.
Yes, it is a lot quieter. I do apologize for all the racket that is being made by the raining down on my RV roof. Okay, so that time of the show where we get to know what's been happening with everyone since they've been on the show last. And I think AJ probably has the most stuff to talk about, pretty sure. So why don't we start with you, AJ? What have you been up to?
Okay. Me personally, not a ton. Just the old, beating the bushes for the job hunt. But my daughter has made a pretty significant accomplishment. We got to go down to Butler, Georgia, which is down in basically the middle of nowhere where she does her glider flying, and got to take her. Me and my dad flew down in the 172 with her and her boyfriend in the back. So there's a picture up there that I believe you said these will be in the show notes as well. But there's the 3 generations of pilots in one airplane, which is kind of cool. And
cool.
My little ones got to come out with us. My wife drove down, and so I got to take them around a little bit on the airport and stuff. So that's my middle.
Did she drive down on the golf cart?
Yep, and drove down on the golf cart. It's a good haul. But
I know.
It's a nice day for it.
Took her quite a while.
It's about a 6 or 7 hour drive on the golf cart. Yeah, a couple of gas stops, but it was worth it. So got to get out there and get her flying, and she actually soloed for the first time. So some cool pictures and stuff of her instructor getting her settled in and saying, "I'm leaving you." I don't know if you can see very well in the picture there, but she doesn't have the happiest look on her face when her instructor informs her that this is it, kid. See you later.
You're on your own. Yeah.
And it's him walking away. He's a little bit amused, I think. Let's see. One of these. Here's our amazing tow plane, the Cessna 175. So that's me getting ready to tow her. And the neat thing is this tow plane is actually the tow plane, the actual airplane that towed me on my solo when I was 14.
Wow.
So a few decades ago. It really, I was thinking scrap heap, but yeah, either way.
So So
Tomato,
aren't you
tomato.
supposed to keep that on a hard surface? I mean, did you have trouble finding the taxiway, or
We just kind of do what we want. The beautiful thing about the 175 is it's so tall. I'm over 6 feet tall, and I can walk underneath the wing without slouching at all. It's
Wow.
a couple inches taller than me, so lots of prop clearance. But no, at this particular airport, we actually use the surface next to the runway as a grass landing area, and then there's a perpendicular runway that is also a grass runway.
Gotcha.
And there's actually there's a little bit of a ditch, kind of a water runoff, and then there's another grass surface that we can actually land and take off on if we need to. So we've got several surfaces at this airport, but we'll pull the tow plane off on the side there.
somebody left their rope or something on the runway?
Yeah, it was there, so we decided to use it. So this is kind of neat for those in the chat. You can see how we hook up to the rope, and then you'll see me lean out of the airplane. I'm actually adjusting my rear view mirror there, which is always a fun addition to an airplane. So they're hooking up the rope there.
Oh, on the strut, the left strut, you have a rear view mirror. Okay.
Yeah, it's a proper rear view mirror off like a 1974 Cadillac or something. It's great.
Oh,
it's just
okay.
hose clamped on.
Cool.
Works fine. Moving along. Let's see. So this will do the takeoff as well. You can see me taking up slack there with the rope in the beginning. And her boyfriend, we taught him how to run the wing. So he got to do all the wing running, which was kind of cool for them.
Neat.
And this will be the takeoff. So he's very enthusiastic, as you can see.
Yeah. Working out his shoulder, left shoulder. Okay. Now they're starting to move, roll down the runway.
Yep. And as you can see, the glider starts flying much earlier than the tow plane, which is a good thing. And but I'm just every time I fly with her, I'm so impressed at how much control she has over that glider. She is incredibly good on managing to keep that glider just perfect, perfect spot in the tow. And then this is the video of her landing, which is kind of neat. So it's her coming down downwind. She'll be turning to left base here in a second. Let's see. Skip that ahead a little bit.
Oh, it's nice with the sun in the background.
One interesting thing, you notice all of these little black specks. Those are not blemishes on the lens. Those are all birds.
I was wondering about that.
Tremendous amount of hawks that all roost in this area because it's very much in the middle of the woodlands. There's not a lot of built up urban area, so a lot of birds at this airport, which always makes it kind of interesting. But she did an incredible job at the landing. I mean, absolutely perfect. On center line, stopped just before the 1,000-foot markers. I mean, absolutely textbook. Just beautiful landing. Managed the spoilers perfectly. You can see the spoilers sticking out of the top of the wings there. Managing her descent right there. Now we'll bring this in a little closer. Amateur video. I'm still up in the tow plane, so this is not my video. This is my wife's video. So she does a pretty good job. And then she realizes, I need to take a couple steps back because I'm standing on the runway.
Get my head chopped off from the wing. Wow.
Yeah, right on the center line.
And she mentioned that she's
nice job.
still kind of pissed off about having to drive down from Atlanta in a golf cart.
She was
less
less than pleased. A couple of cool stills that managed to get from that video.
Wow.
Then we had
Congratulations to her.
Nice.
Thank you. We had the official shirt cutting ceremony. So cutting the shirt tail is a very old tradition back in the days before there was intercoms and things like that. And most training aircraft were tandem, meaning you're sitting one in front of the other, usually the instructor's in the back. So they would tug on your shirt tail to tell you to do something or get your attention and things like that. And once they authorized you to solo, they would say, hey, I don't need to tug your shirt tail anymore. So they cut your shirt tail off as a
I had
ceremonial.
I knew that was a tradition. I didn't understand the meaning of it. Wow.
Yep, that's where it came from. So yeah, you don't need your shirt tail tugged anymore. So we did the shirt tail cutting and wrote on it. So it's got her date and airplane and all that stuff on it. Her instructor was very, very, very happy.
Good job.
So,
Nice.
got a really amazing background photo there with her on downwind, the rainbow above her, and the hawk in the picture. It was a cool, just an amazing day, and the weather was gorgeous. And
Yeah.
Grandma and Grandpa got to be out there, and Mom was there, both her sisters. So everybody got to be there and participate. It was just an awesome day. So really proud of her. And again, I don't know if I mentioned this, but she's 15, so she can't legally drive anything by herself except an airplane or a glider, which I think is kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So
Very nice. I can tell you're proud, and you should be.
yep, I am quite chuffed, as Nick would
Chip
say.
off the old block.
Yep. Oh,
And,
applause. Okay.
Oh, one last photo I'll put up here.
Not too late.
So as I'm
put it
taxiing
in
back,
post.
this is what I see. They're still on the runway because I'd landed on the perpendicular grass runway, and so I pulled onto the runway to taxi back down to the end, and there they are blocking the runway, and I'm like, oh, hello, can you move?
Do you have a horn in there?
No, but I got a big spinny, scary thing on the front.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
yeah, it was a lot of fun though.
Excellent. All right.
You-
Well, that's a
you
lot
and
more than
she
I've
should
done.
Be rightfully proud. That's brilliant.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that with us,
Absolutely.
Alpha Juliet. Appreciate that. All right. Nick, have you...
Yes, sir.
Let's see. Did you have a nice time with Jilly out of town this past week?
Well, actually, yeah, we've had fun going down to the local Volvo dealer and sorting her out with a new birthday present. Volvo is only, it's about 8 years old, but she's decided, well, actually I decided that she needed a new one because it's starting to, there are things starting to go wrong that might be expensive. So we went down to the same dealer we bought the old one from and traded her one in. And on Tuesday she gets a 1-year-old, which is fine age for a puppy, a XC90 she's getting. So we're going partially electric. We haven't gone the whole hog. So I think it's quite a sensible move, really. But anyway, she's got a new car coming, so that's been great. We've been sorting that out. And in the meantime, whenever the weather has been good, I've been down to the army base that looks after the training ground that I exercise my dogs in, because the general public are usually given access to it. And it's a nice big area, and there are lovely guys there. But obviously it's policed by the Ministry of Defence, the MOD police, and we have got to know one of the dog handlers that's down there quite well, Dan, and he's a lovely bloke, and he's got a bunch of spaniels. Anyway, I did mention to him that I was giving up photography, but I said, look, while I'm still able, I'd be more than happy to come down and take some pictures for you at your dog section if you were interested. So whenever the weather has been good, which hasn't been very often, I've been down there taking pictures of the dog handlers and their animals as they put them through their paces, which has been great fun, not only getting to know them and the dogs, but also keeping my hand in with a bit of dog photography. Now, these animals are taken from a large pool of working dogs that supply all the dogs to our military and the military aligned services that use dogs. And these dogs are both scenting dogs and guard dogs. They're attack dogs, as you'll see. And there were a few restrictions, so they weren't allowed to let them off the lead while I was in the same compound as them. So that's why they're going through their paces with a long lead on. I wasn't concerned, that they weren't concerned, but their boss said, well, it's going to have to be this way. So it was really, I didn't mind, but it's quite interesting. The one time they did let them off the lead to do these attack drills, they had a guy standing beside me whose job it was to lure the dog away if the dog decided to go for me instead. But I put it, in my clown outfit. I used my long lens, so I wasn't very close. But they're great animals, and it's lovely to see them being put through their paces. Very athletic, as you can imagine, a mixture of Alsatians and Belgian Shepherds. I think it's the Malinois dogs, and crosses between them. They're incredibly lovely dogs because obviously they're handlers. They look as soft as butter when they're with their handlers, but when they're given their orders and they practice their attacks, they really are quite. They change character enormously, as you can. Dogs can fly too. Yes, they do. Not for very long, but you're quite right. And they really do give that impression. Yeah, I know. That was running towards one of the other handlers who was obviously acting as an intruder. And you can see why they have these great arm guards on, because when the dog latches on, boy, it's not messing about. It really isn't. And they're pretty heavy dogs. The big ones, 40 kilos of dog attached to your arm is quite a lot. And
this is when it would pay off if you're a criminal that has no arms.
Yeah, but I suppose they go for anything else that juts out, Jeff.
Oh, okay.
You're just moving the weakest link.
Yeah, you get yourself neutered, and they wouldn't have much to grab hold of then, I guess. But I've been down there for a couple of days taking pictures, and I have almost got through those. I'm waiting for the weather to improve so I can go down and finish off with the other handlers. So it's really enjoyable. Been great fun doing that.
Well, that was the second installment. We had some photos of that on the last episode as well. So I look forward to seeing the third installment.
You going to do the artwork now or later? Artwork now then. Let me see. What happened last week? It was APG 650. There were some great suggestions. Snarge Fest, because we were dealing with... indeed. Robotic Lust, Nigel's Little Thing, and I thought I could have easily done that, but Nigel's Little Thing, it wouldn't have been a very impressive picture, because, would it really? Exactly.
But it would keep us out of trouble, though, with the sensors. Yeah.
Yes. Highway to Nowhere and Break a Leg, Steph. They were all great suggestions, but we had sort of Jet Blue, Watermelon, Ice Bomb, No Trespass. So I sort of merged that into the Ice Melon Bombers. So this was someone who had an ice ball fall off an aeroplane and go through the roof. And we found out about it because of the court case they were bringing against the airline. It included they were also going to try and prosecute them for trespassing on their property by throwing ice into their property.
Exactly.
But I couldn't take the whole thing particularly seriously, but there you go. We managed to get a picture of the ice bombers actually doing their thing. Well, I didn't want it, but apparently the AI did. So that's what we ended up with. I thought it looked a bit like Steph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I see that. Is that like a big, giant ice ball about to go through the roof right there? That's a pretty big.
That is the ice melon going through the...
Wow.
Yeah, very
That's a
big
huge
watermelon.
Or a very small
very
house.
Impressive, isn't it?
Okay.
Going through the... and the no trespass sign, which obviously they had up to make sure people understood that there was no ice going.
They're ignoring that warning, apparently.
I know, that's terrible, isn't it?
I was going to say it's impressive.
No, that's typical. That's LAX.
That they got into.
That's what it looks like at LAX. They're doing parallel approaches.
Well, I had a bit of a cold front go through. Now, there were 3 ice ball on the left there, and if you look, I managed to turn one into a 6, one into a 5, and one into a 0. And I've made them look a little bit more obvious than they were in the original picture. And behind one of the bigger ones, you can just see what remains of the logo, the Airline Pilot Guy Show logo with the wings sticking out. That's a flying ice ball. It can go up and down. Yeah, very impressive.
Interesting.
Indeed. Yes. There you go.
Nice. Beautiful job, as always.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you. Yes, Jeff. Now you, old chap.
Oh, just doing singing and camping, sort of. My version of camping, which is just finding a place to park my RVS, my road vessel studio, and spend the night and work on editing the show and that sort of thing. So I did that over the weekend, and I've just been doing little errands here and there, and so that's really the only thing that I've been doing. It's just the standard stuff, so nothing special. And let's see, it's about to start getting cold again here in the Atlanta area, and so I'm now trying to come up with a plan as far as winterization and hotels and that kind of thing. So, okay. Let's see. I'm sorry. What did you say, Liz?
I think she accidentally swiped herself off the StreamYard.
Oh, gotcha. So she's gonna return to StreamYard. Oh, okay. She did the swipey thing with the good old Apple mouse. So we'll wait till she returns. Oh, looks like she's coming back.
Did you do a happy birthday shout out that you were planning?
Well, I was. You know what? Thank you. I'm glad that somebody looks at the show notes. I certainly don't. Okay. All right. So normal stuff for me, basically, but I do want to do a shout out to someone that we hear from each and every show, and he's the guy that does our introduction, our official Radio Roger guy. Happy birthday, Radio Roger. It's his birthday today, the 12th of February. So, yay, let's get some applause in here. And you know what? I'm going to sing happy birthday to him. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Roger. Happy birthday to you, and many more. All right. And thank you for all the work that you do as part of the as part of the team here at APG Radio Roger. You're awesome. And he is a dream. Yeah. A dream or a nightmare, Liz? Okay. I need to talk about Gordy, don't I? Let's see if I can find his video. Yeah, that's one that I forgot to load up. That's okay. I can do it the other way. Just bear with me. I didn't do any side swiping here, but I am trying to figure out how to do this video. So let me stop my screen share and then present again. Share. Nope, that's wrong. Present and video file, and go over to videos, and I'm hoping that's one of these here in my list. One of them there. Here it is. Okay.
Them's is also an appropriate usage.
Them's
videos.
Okay. Gotcha. So I'm going to, let me cue this first. I'm going to put it on stage. And I need to find the spot. And then I'll just pause it at that spot. Yeah, I need to find that spot. Bear with me, darling. All right.
Of our automotive history series on the Modern Classics show. We're in Krakow. It's very cold. It's about 1 degree Celsius, but I got my coat on, so can't complain. And
okay, I think that's about where he starts. Okay. So you might remember that this gentleman, Gordy, sent some feedback in, and it was, I don't know, episode 400 something. I don't remember the exact episode. He says, anyway, we mentioned his feedback, and he is a guy that is into historical vehicles, not like super old, like Model T kind of historical, but some very nice vehicles that he covers the automotive history of. And his channel is called Automotive History Series, or at least it's one of the things that he does. And anyway, he wrote in again and said, "Hello all at APG. In my latest YouTube video, I give the APG crew a nice plug, and you can view it here." And we're going to watch that in a moment here, or listen. And the plug starts around the 5.5 minute mark, and I hope it attracts some more people to the podcast. Okay, he's looking for more subscribers to his podcast, folks. So let's go ahead and subscribe to his. Oh, that's right. You're right, Liz. He's not looking for more. He wants to help us. Thank you, Gordy. Yeah. And he said that in his video, he used some stock images of the crew that he found on Google. And he said, "I hope that's okay with everyone." No, Gordy, it's not. We're going to be filing a lawsuit, just to let you know. The lawyers are, they're after you, man. No, that's perfectly fine. So why don't we go ahead and play some of this little clip from Gordy on his automotive history podcast.
We've got a lot to get through. Before we start, I just want to give a quick shout out to an aviation podcast. If there's any aviation enthusiasts that watch the show, and it's to Jeff, Captain Jeff of the APG Airline Pilot Guy show. You can find that on any podcast, and just search for it in the like a podcast search engine, and you'll find it. Captain Jeff has been doing that podcast for absolutely ages. He's done more than, I think, 600 episodes. And he's got some really cool co-hosts as well. Captain Nick and Dr. Steph, Miami Rick. There's another Rick on there as well. And basically it's an aviation podcast. They cover like the news, they do feedback on what they've been doing in their personal lives, and it's just a wonderful show. They gave my Old Gordian Color channel a shout out back in the day, back in I think 2022, and it's just so kind of them to say a few words on my behalf and give me the airtime. So I wanted to give them a mention. As I say, I think Captain Jeff, he flew for Delta. I don't know this for certain, but I think he flew the Boeing 717, which would have been an old version of the DC-9 MD-80 Evolution. Captain Nick was on the Airbus A330, A340. He flew in the RAF and the RAAF. Dr. Steph is a practicing doctor, but she does like skydive, general aviation stuff. So, I don't know huge amounts about their aviation background, but it's a wonderful show, and you should definitely check it out. And if the guys are watching the show, hello to everyone. I hope you're doing superb. And, as I've been doing the Modern Classics show, a huge respect to all the actors out there in Hollywood, on TV.
I think that was the end of our plug on his show. So thank you, Gordy, for mentioning us on your podcast and your YouTube video. And we really do appreciate that. He's a great guy. So I wanted to make sure that we did a shout out to him on our show. So thank you. Okay. AJ, anything else I'm supposed to mention in my section of the... No. Okay.
Carry on.
Thank you. we can talk about the coffee fund. So let's, I was going to say, Liz, you can play the coffee fund music, but I have to do that, I guess. There we go.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
Oh, yeah, the coffee fund. It's your way, dear ladies and gentlemen, listening to the show. If you want to support the show financially, we're more than happy for you to do that. And we have a couple of different ways to do that. It's called the Coffee Bar Club. And you can go over to airlinepilotguy.com, our website, airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. And you'll see how you can join this great group of folks who do contribute to the show. And you don't have to give us much. Actually, you don't have to give us anything at all. It's a free show. But we do appreciate those who kind of exercise the value for value kind of thing. If you get value from what we do each and every week and you want to give us some value, now you know how to do it. A couple different ways. The Airline Pilot Guy Coffee Fund Classic Method, basically a PayPal donation page. That's one way. Most people just do just occasional contributions in that manner. If you want to do like a regular kind of a contribution, we always recommend going to Patreon. You can become a patron of the show on Patreon. So if you're interested, please head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. You'll be glad you did, and we will too. All right. Okay.
Woohoo!
Excellent. All right. We're going to knock some feedback out. We're going to clear it all out. Just kidding. That doesn't make Liz happy when we say that. Okay. All right. Now it's time for some feedback.
Go for it, Jeff.
Captain, incoming message.
No, Nick, I haven't heard that said to me in quite some time.
I love it.
Oh, okay. Well, this first feedback item is from Texas Anlashok, and we think that he was with us in our live audience earlier in the show. Maybe he's still there. Yes, this does fit in right in with that. You're right, Liz. Greetings, Captain Jeff and APG crew. It's been a while since I've done this, but I found another one in the town of Moriarty, New Mexico, right alongside I-40. There is the U.S. Southwest Soaring Museum, or Glider Museum, as opposed to the Silent Wings Museum in Lubbock, which I discussed a while back. This one is more concerned with civilian and recreational gliders. As you might expect, it's a small museum, only a single hangar. Really, it's not even a hangar, it's basically a warehouse. They get away with this because most of the gliders can be disassembled and brought back in. Inside, they have a collection of various gliders from different eras, a few prototypes and record breakers, and a replica of the Wright 1902 glider, the one that Jeff soloed on early in his career. No, he didn't say that. I added that. The 1902 glider, the one they perfected their airframe with before their first flight. I got there right after a job, so it was only about an hour before they closed, so I didn't have time to take an in-depth look around, but they have a fairly sizable collection, and if you're passing through, it's worth a look. Maybe if I ever do start that museum podcast, I'll go back there. Until then, this is the Texas Anlashok signing off, and he took some nice photos of the Southwest Soaring Museum and Glider Museum. That's on the on one wall it says Southwest Soaring Museum, and then on the other wall, Glider Museum. And then we have some photos of the inside. Yeah,
you know,
so
Jeff,
I'm just,
when I first saw his feedback there and it said the Soaring Museum, I thought it would be all about lumberjacks.
Oh, okay. It took me a couple seconds to figure out.
Give it a second. It'll get there.
Oh, soaring. Yeah.
I was a bit disappointed to find it full of old gliders. Yeah.
He is in the
I've got a
chat
great,
room. Awesome.
Oh, nice one.
I've got a great glider and a museum story. So when I was just a few years ago, took the girls over to our local aviation museum here in Marietta. It's over at the Air Force Base. And we're walking through and, seeing some cool fighter jets and all this kind of stuff. And over kind of in the corner next to the office, there's this old glider called a Blanik, L-13. And I recognized it because that's the kind of glider that I soloed in. And I was like, man, that's kind of cool.
Is that the one with the forward swept wings?
They're straight. They're absolutely straight on they look forward swept because the back end tapers forwards, but the front edge is actually straight.
Okay.
Yeah. But yes, it does have that appearance. Phenomenal glider to fly. Retractable landing gear, flaps, and spoilers. Very complex glider, but amazing performing glider. And anyway, so we walk over to this glider. I'm like, I'm telling my daughters, I'm like, this is the actual glider that I soloed in. They had put it in a museum.
Are you joking? Oh,
no. Well, the problem with those Blaniks, well, it's cool that it's there, but it's kind of sucks for the reason because all those Blaniks got their airworthiness certificates revoked because they were having issues with the wing spar. And to get them fixed, you have to pack them up in a big box and send them back to Europe. Oh, it's kind of cost prohibitive. So they're like, we can just stick it in that museum right there. So, but definitely made me
tax write-off.
Yeah, when the airplanes you've flown start pitching up in museums, it does kind of add an extra strata to your feeling of age.
It does.
Yeah, I think all of the airplanes that I've flown are in some museum somewhere, except for maybe the Boeing 717. It won't be long though before that one's there as well.
If you didn't start on an airframe 15 minutes before it gets retired every time.
Well, I like to fly them, well used and all the bugs worked out, by the time I fly them, let somebody else go through all the problems. Texas Anlashock says, again in our live audience, quick question, do any of you know how high gliders have gotten? I didn't until I came here. Well, isn't there one like in the southern hemisphere somewhere where they've done some kind of a project where they go up to like 100,000 feet or something ridiculous?
Yeah, it's fully pressurized and it glides off some kind of amazing high-level wave effect.
Mountain wave.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's been some civilian glider record stuff done in the west coast of the U.S. They're getting up into flight levels and they're flying for long periods of time, 18, 19, 20 hours.
Yeah, what do they say there at the museum, Texas? And I was going to say high altitude. I'm trying to do a quick search while we wait for.
76,000. That's not bad. Okay. It's higher than I've flown in a Phantom.
Wow. Or at least what you'll admit.
Randy, they got slightly better wings than the Phantom.
Okay, this is what a little bit more delicate than the Phantom. The thing that I was thinking of was the Perlan project. According to Wikipedia, they have gotten up to 50,671 feet in a standard glider using stratospheric waves of air. I think that's what you were referring to, Captain Nick. Stratospheric mountain waves and the polar vortex. That sounds like something that came from Canada.
Well, that's how they get back down again in the polar vortex.
That one looks like it's pressurized too.
Oh, you know what? You're right. That was I found the Airbus one, the Perlan Mission 2. They go up to 76,000 feet.
Oh, there you go.
Holy moly! So yeah.
That's
okay.
The one
perfect.
That holds the record now. Great job.
Yeah.
Good old Airbus.
There you go. All right. Good stuff. Thank you, Texas. Glad to see you in the live chat. Let's move on to Greg Peterson, our big ass fan, because he used to work for the Big Ass Fan company, no longer, but that's why we say that. Anyway, Greg writes in and says, "Hey crew, hope everyone is doing well and thawing out from the unusually cold winter we've had this year." And we're not thawing out yet, Greg. It's getting cold again. He sent this in a few weeks ago, I think. And anyway, he says the average temperature for the month of January at my house in Southwest Ohio was 24 degrees, which is minus 4 C, which is considerably below the normal of about 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Anyway, I have a couple of questions regarding the last two feedback items from episode 648. Regarding the pilot who wouldn't hit his altitude marks as he was on approach to Teterboro. You guys kind of joked that he didn't copy down the phone number. What happens if you're asked to call a phone number and you don't do it? Does ATC report this to someone and they expect the call? And if you don't call, they start looking for you? Or is it all on the honor system to call the number? We can stop and discuss this one. I think they have ways of identifying who you are and how to get in touch with you.
We have ways of making you talk.
Sign some paper.
Yeah, if you don't call, they're going to pull your registration. They're going to get a hold of that person, and they're going to find out who was in that airplane, and it's going to go much, much worse for you than if you just called the number.
Yeah. It's better if you call.
Better if you call.
Yeah.
Call collect, though. That's the best bit.
And change your voice. Disguise your voice in some way. I think you can get away with it.
Can't you just do the handkerchief over the phone? That'd be fine. They'll never know
that
it was
works.
you.
Good job.
All right. And then he says, regarding Roberta's observation of the emergency landing at Narita, since it seems, at least in my observation, I think I've sent feedback about this before, that most major airports with parallel runways use the runway closest to the terminal for takeoffs and the outer runway for landings. Other than maybe being closer to the ARF teams, why would they use the ARF? Why would they use the runway closest to the terminal for the emergency? Wouldn't you want the emergency on a runway further away from the terminal in the event that there's a crash and you have to shut the runway down for an extended period of time? I also suppose it could depend on the nature of the emergency. If it was medical, you might want to use the closer runway so you can get to help quicker. In general, go ahead.
I would say really the most important thing is landing on that closer runway. It gets you a lot better, cell phone video.
That's true. That's a consideration.
That's very good. Yeah. I
think the reason that
this one, if you want, Jeff.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you usually have a long runway and a shorter runway, and the long runway is generally used for takeoff because you consume a lot more runway when you're heavy for takeoff. And the short runway is used for landing. Now, when you're landing, it is no skin off your nose, really, to have a long taxi in because you're on the ground safely and you can use whatever remaining fuel you have to get back to your parking spot and get the passengers off. When you're taxiing out, you really want to have a shorter taxi as possible because you've got all that fuel on board. You don't want to waste it taxiing halfway around the airport to get to the far runway. So for practical purposes, it's always better having the longer runway close and have the shorter taxi route, the shorter runway for landing further away, and have the longer taxi route. When it comes down to an emergency, of course, everyone wants to use the longest runway, generally speaking, because most emergencies extend your landing distance for one reason or another. And who cares about hitting the terminal? There's no one important in it anyway. So,
yeah, in our mind. Yeah. Good point. All exactly what I would have said. You generally, in general, in an emergency, you want to have that longer runway available. So I think that makes sense to me. Anything else to add to that question? No? All right.
I don't think so.
He said, just some questions rolling around in the old noggin. Keep up the great work. Look forward to the episode each week. By the way, we found out this morning that one of the passengers on Flight 5342, American Airlines flight that was involved in that mid-air collision in Washington, D.C., was the husband of one of our co-workers. He was also an employee of our company. He and his wife lived in Arlington, Virginia.
Oh,
that's sad.
Very sad.
Sorry to hear that, Greg.
Yeah.
And then he closes, as he does, since he works for a major engine manufacturer. In thrust, we trust. Greg Peterson. Thanks, Greg, for sending in those questions. And if you have any more questions rolling around in the old noggin, be sure to send them in. All right. 7, 8, and 9. Okay. Robert in Tucker, Georgia, sent this in. He says, unfortunately, this morning, there is a Georgia connection that hits even closer to home for me. I found out this morning that a coworker in my department at the IT company in Sandy Springs, which is just south of Roswell, was enlisted and on the Black Hawk in D.C. last week. I was in shock. This, of course, was the last thing I expected to see this morning. And then he has a link to an article from CBS News regarding talking or interviewing the father of one of the DC crash victims. His son was the Black Hawk crew chief, and a quote from his son said he trusted the pilots with his life. Or no, that was actually from his father, but apparently his son said that they trust the pilots that they fly with. The father of the U.S. Army Black Hawk crew chief and Staff Sergeant Ryan O'Hara said his son loved flying over Washington, D.C. and never expressed concerns about the crowded skies, and described the crew as probably the most respected pilots that he had ever flown with. He entrusted them with his life. So this is the thing. When you have a connection with somebody that is involved in one of these tragedies, it really just makes it that much more impactful and more real to those people that experience that, and that's hard. Anyway, it says it was very touching to see the other soldiers saluting. They were talking about the pilots at DC that they were putting. Wait a minute. I guess no, they're talking about his son, aren't they?
Was it when they were lifting
he was talking about
out of the river? They covered it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Let me start over from the paragraph above, and that might help me and everybody else trying to figure out what I'm saying. Ryan O'Hara's parents watched on television as their son's body was recovered from wreckage submerged in the frigid Potomac River and transferred to a hearse. It's very touching to see the other soldiers saluting as they take him out with a draped flag over it. But to sit there and think that that's my little boy, it's crushing. Wow. Yeah.
I mean,
so we'll have this article.
It was so sad because his son had survived tours in Afghanistan and in war environments, and then he was doing what was considered a very relatively safe job, flying around DC, only to find that that's where he, lost his life. It's dreadful, really.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Robert, for that. We'll continue with the next one in the list from Ethan. Hey, Captain Jeff, this is Ethan writing from Minnesota, don't you know? I was cruising your website the other day and noticed that your podcast is available on Google Podcasts. Unfortunately, Google discontinued its podcast player last year. I just wanted to bring this to your attention. Yeah, I know, Ethan. In fact, there are several places on the website where I had the little Google Podcast logo. And one of them, the most prominent one, was on the right sidebar. So anytime you go to one of our podcast episodes, on the right sidebar was one of we have a list of places that you can listen to the show. That's just a handful of them. And I did remove it from that, but apparently I had it in some other, on some other pages as well. And, I finally, you got me, motivated, Ethan, to go ahead and remove it from everywhere on the site, as far as I know, unless it's the individual show notes for each podcast episode that we've had in the past. And I do not have time to go through and change all of those. So, Yeah, 651 instances of that Google Podcast thing. I don't know if they're on all the early ones or not. But anyway, I took care of that. It was a little bit faster than I thought it would be for me to take care of that. He says, in fact, if you click on the Google Podcast link on your website, your browser redirects you to a site that says Google Podcast no longer available. He said, I can't believe I'm the first person to bring this to your attention. Yeah, well, again, yeah, I knew about it. It just, I guess I got lazy and didn't think anybody would really notice. He says, as a repayment, oh, okay, I see. Please let everyone know that I'm looking for a low-time pilot job, or play the We're Going Green sound bit for me. Okay, here we go.
We're going green. We're going green. We're gonna take care of the earth. We're going green.
Yeah.
Is Ethan looking for a pilot job that has low time, or a job for a low time pilot?
We're gonna take care of
Probably the second one. And
yeah,
Ethan, when you
that's
find
the way I
something,
took it.
Call me, because I need one too.
Although, I mean, in my later years, as I finished my career, I was looking for the lowest time pilot job I could find. In fact, I went part-time, and that was the best way to get that.
Well, you know that, anytime we're negotiating contracts, if you're flying for a company that has a union that's representing you, we're always looking for less time flying and more pay. I mean, that's our standard motto. Yeah.
I mean, we were already only 750 hours a year, and I was flying half that, so that was a fairly relaxed lifestyle.
I don't understand why these take so long. These whole negotiations. It's very simple. We want to do less work and more money.
Yeah,
why is it so
Yeah.
complicated?
Yeah. Well,
give it to us.
Well, the airline knows that. Yeah. I think 750 hours. If I added up all my time, which is just shy of 24,000 hours in 35 years of airline flying, I bet it's pretty close to 750. I think that 750 hours logged per year is probably pretty close to everybody's average, I would imagine. So you're so right, Captain Nick. Anyway, he says, and by the way, my offer of a parking spot for the mobile studio in Minnesota still stands. Thanks and tailwinds. Ethan Campbell. Thank you, Ethan.
You'd really need to winterize your RV to get up there.
Well, maybe just show up in the summertime, which is just like a week or so in July.
That's like the second week of July, and that's it.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, let's see. Oh, and yeah, okay. So Kevin Dryden up in Comox, British Columbia, on Vancouver Island, has been keeping track of the goings-on of these beautiful, beautiful Martin Mars bombers, Martin Mars water bombers. And I thought it would be worth playing a little video that he linked to. Let me see. Let me do that again. Do I need to reshare this, or is it ready to go? I think it should be ready to go. Okay, and I'm just trying to. Oh, really? Okay. So I need to get rid of that. Okay, I got it removed from the studio. Now I got to share. Oh, just so much to do. So much to do. Okay, and we're going to go to. Oh. Thanks, Liz.
5 o'clock in the afternoon, you can have
it's
a
only
drink.
5 o'clock. It's a little early for me. I know that's your bedtime, Liz. Or I am exhausted.
You can't go to bed yet. You got to eat all that popcorn you made for the last hour and a half.
Yeah, I know. It's finally gotten to the point. I'm surrounded by all these trees that are soaking wet from all the rain, and then these drops come flying down from the trees and make really big smacking sounds on the skylight and the roof of this thing.
That's all the bird poop.
Yeah, I know. That's for the shimmy damper. That was one of those things, I was going to play the little segment from the shimmy damper. I'm trying to find the... I'm still looking. Yeah, I'm a real looker for sure. I guess I didn't do that. Okay. Do we need to do this one? You're breaking up, Liz. I don't know if it's just me or... Is she not breaking up a little bit, AJ? And
no, I'm afraid you're a bit wobbly, Jeff.
Okay. Well, it's me then.
I think you're...
Okay, hang on.
I think your atomic clock is getting farther behind.
It's just like my entire life is just really winding down.
He's caught in
the
time
club,
bubble.
Jeff. Join the club.
Okay. Now, I found it. Thank you, Liz. I am not sure if my signal is really breaking up. This video may look horrible, so I apologize for that, but let's give it a shot. Okay, so Kevin sent a link to this video of the... oh, wait a minute. This is not the one that I thought it was. But this is another video that was in this feedback. And so the Martin Bars, the Philippine Martin Mars water bomber, took off from Sproat Lake in BC and flew down to San Francisco Bay en route to its final resting place in a museum in Arizona. And so we're seeing it over the waters of the San Francisco Bay. What'd you say, Liz? Okay. Good.
5,
and
4, 3.
And it just kind of levels off.
1.
I think probably because double numbers in there.
1.
0.
They probably wanted to be further down. So they just kind of leveled off at about 5 feet. And they touched down beautifully. And it's still going. I would have thought that it would have decelerated a lot faster, but maybe they're doing this on purpose. What do you think?
Those things taxi so slow, I bet they're doing a high-speed taxi just to get to the other end.
Well, they seem to be
that looks...
hammering along, don't they?
Yeah. It's like
a lot of engine noise.
Okay.
I think they're doing this on purpose.
I think so too. Yeah.
Is it touch and go?
I don't know. Okay, he's slowing down. And here's some more video of it resting. It really slowed down quite fast. It's now not moving at all. And they're towing it in the water. Yep, dead in the water. And then there's some people standing on the wing. That kind of gives you an idea how big that thing is.
It's real rocky, but
I don't know, who's that guy talking?
people right there.
Oh, it's in the video. I thought, what?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So that was that video of landing in San Francisco Bay, probably to take on some fuel and such. And do we want to see the one where they're taking off from Sproat Lake? Let me make sure. Yeah, there's a picture. That'll do, Liz. That's a picture of the Martin Mars taking off from Sprout Lake and heading south toward San Francisco. Yeah. Oh.
Ooh,
so
nice
before they landed, they flew in formation with is that a Lancaster bomber? No. That's a B-20.
Liberator or something?
Liberator?
B-26.
Okay. B-26, okay. And a Mustang.
It's got a funny
P-51.
gun.
Yeah, I don't know.
What do you think it says about you, Nick?
Wow.
Good point.
Yeah, after it landed there. Okay. Cool. Very nice. I should have just let you play or just show these images, Liz. That would have been better.
Oh, you got the fireboat's doing a water salute. Lovely.
Oh, nice. Oh, so it's already made it to Arizona. Okay.
I'm sorry. I misspoke. I would like to correct for the 51% guarantee. That is a B-24.
B-24. Okay. I thought a B-24 had a twin tail.
What was its name?
A B-24 does have a twin tail. Okay, I don't know what that is.
Yeah. No, it's not a B-20 because B-24 is a twin engine, not a four engine.
Well, it looks like a B-26 that someone's messed about with.
It's got too many engines for a B-26.
Yeah. Okay. PB4Y? Privateer? Never heard of that.
Heard of it, which is probably, that's what is so ugly, I've never heard of it.
Maybe when they made it, they said, you know what? I'm sorry, we can't produce these things because they're so darn ugly.
Exactly. That's exactly what they said. We'll give it to the Navy.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Wow, I can't wait to visit that museum. Where in Arizona is it? Do you know, Liz? Oh.
I love they're towing it with somebody's fishing boat. Isn't that great?
Lake Pleasant.
Lake Pleasant?
Lake Pleasant.
Where is
Arizona.
that? I don't know where that is.
It's in Arizona.
Oh. Okay.
It looks like it's in
Very
a
good.
gravel pit, but there you go.
Well,
there's not a lot of foliage in South Arizona or Central and South Arizona. Yeah.
It's
beautiful in its own way. It's beautiful in its own way.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Right, so
yeah.
Just outside of Phoenix.
that's a good way of putting it, Liz. A desolate beauty. Except just take the word beauty out of it.
Oh, God help us. Okay. Yes. Just north of Phoenix. Okay. Very good.
Nobody listens to me.
Yeah. Well, I heard you say that, AJ. We were listening. Okay. Time to wrap it up. Thank goodness, huh? And this is where we point you over to the website, airlinepilotguy.com. And we also tell you about where you can follow us on the social media sites, social medias. Captain Nick?
Hang on a minute. I've got to open my beer. I'll get
okay.
my beer
Well, then AJ can do it.
Get your beer. I can do it.
AJ,
okay, there you go.
Open me one, too. So you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/airlinepilotguy, on X, or as we all still call it, Twitter, at APG Crew, and on Instagram, also instagram.com/APG Crew, and also on YouTube at Airline Pilot Guy /streams, or if you look up and it pops up with Jeff Nielsen. That'll be how you know you're in the right place.
Oh, yeah. That's another way to do it. Yeah, that's my personal site. Or you can just do youtube.com/airlinepilotguy. I need to write that down on the list of things to do. I need to change that graphic again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. It's just it's part of the tradition, Liz.
Yeah, according to the website, I'm still unoccupied, a working pilot, which hasn't been right for 5 years.
Well, if you want to... If you want to update your information, Captain Nick, and send it to me, I'll be more than happy to update the site with it. I actually updated my bio as well.
Oh, cool. Okay, you want some new pictures too? Retired.
Who's in my
pictures.
shower? Well, he's already out of it, and he's just sitting next to me. He's all dried off, and he's going to tell us about Slack.
APG listeners, please
Hello.
join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and plain tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com. Or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
thanks a lot, Hillel. Appreciate it. So you got the information about what Slack is and how to join the Slackers on the Slack team. And we're also so happy to acknowledge our producer, Liz Piper, who does a lot of hard work in the background. Couldn't do it without her, and I really mean that. We wouldn't be doing a show.
Hey, Liz.
You're welcome,
I'd forget that it was time to record a show without Liz. All right.
Van Ram's back. He wants to know if he missed anything.
No, you didn't miss a thing, for sure. And, and thank you to speaking of Van Ram and all these wonderful people in our live audience, including iHall Boxes, who is asking if anybody else is participating in the 3-day no alcohol challenge, which is February 29th, 30th, and 31st. And I'd love to sign up for that as well. iHall Boxes. So you get
there's my response to that.
That sounds
quite a challenge.
I think I can probably do that.
I know I can do it.
I've been drinking, but
I have to ask why.
Christmas.
Why would you do that?
What he said.
Because there are no the 29th, 30th, and 31st.
Ah, okay, that's good. I like that challenge.
Okay, when you have to explain the joke, it's really not funny, I guess.
It's not.
Well, it's the end of a long day for me. You guys have got 5 hours to go before you get to my state.
Let's wrap it up then, boys.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for listening, telling your friends, and all that. And with that, we're going to wish you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
Bye-bye, everybody.
See you next time.
See ya. Hey, can I get some props? I did it in order.
You did.
You did.
See me? I was shaking a little bit, trying to stay quiet.
Yeah. All right,
Jeff, did you have your recorder on, Jeff?
Good job. Good job, sir.
I didn't. Seriously.
Are you serious?
Uh-huh.
All right. Start over.
Okay, that was a good rehearsal. Now,
let's start the real one.
Turn the recorders on.
I didn't even start my backup recorder. So guess what?
That's very early on.
We're going to be using StreamYard.
Yep.
Where is it?
Yes, AJ? Early on what?
I'm scrolling. Where is it?
Oh, did you? Oh, you put something in the chat?
No.
That I'm supposed to see? Oh, Tim Van Ram, recorder.
He tried his best.
Thank you, Tim.
I usually verbalize it, though, myself, so that's
I normally don't see him, actually, because I hardly ever read things in the chat room because it's just too distracting.
I'll take the fault for it. I'm so sorry.
No, it's my fault. I'm the one responsible for starting the recorder. That's okay. I'll just use the backup recordings. And thankfully, I did set that up because that's something you have to set up each and every time.
Thank goodness.
I did remember to do that. Looks like they're still uploading. So we got that going for us. So when we end the broadcast, make sure everybody stays on until we figure out where we are with that.
Let's just talk about some possible titles before we sign off on the. I have a couple. Swan Downing, Nick. Swan Downing instead of Swan Upping.
Oh, Swan Upping, Swan Downing. Hang on a minute. I've got a dog in my lap.
I see that. She's not helping.
You could change that.
Where's my? Hang on, I've got it now.
What is it? What is the Australian saying? Get that swan up ya.
Get that swan up ya.
What does that mean?
Swan lager. Yes, very much so. Swan Upping and Downing.
Okay, and then there's Swan Smash. Swan Smash.
Swan Smash. That's a bit rude.
I know. Packs on, packs off. Packs on, packs off. Like there's
for
this
the.
thing. It's like wax on, wax off kind of thing. You know, that thing. You know?
Oh, well, you're talking about the different configurations for takeoff that you guys have done, Captain Nick.
Yep. We have ways of making you talk. You're so ugly. Nick was talking about you're so ugly, so you might want to do something with that. I don't know. And then
Kind of rude.
AJ and
Hang
Metro
on a
Doc.
minute, You're so ugly. What was the end of that?
You're so ugly. That we can't
That the
even.
doctor slapped your
No.
mother when you came out.
Wow.
I've heard that one in a long time.
That went downhill quickly.
You're so ugly.
You're talking about that ugly bomber, and you're saying you're so ugly we can't. They couldn't even manufacture.
We gave you
Couldn't
to the Navy.
Davey. I like that one. I slapped your mother.
That's what that one was all about.
Oh God! And then there's a nice one that AJ mentioned.
A nice one. Makes a change.
Glide into the sun. That was that.
That's so.
I know.
Yes. All right. Gliding into the sun makes it sound like crash land.
How do you really feel about it, though?
Van Ram is back at the Swan thing. Swan Snarge
soup.
Swan Snarge soup. I like it.
On the menu today, Swan Snarge soup. Oh, Black Swan event. Black Swan event. You know.
Could become a Red Swan event.
Swan Snarge Snoop.
Yeah, I could really go for that too.
I'm sure.
Swan, Snarge, and Glider Sunsets.
You know, we had a medieval night at the mess when I was a young officer, and the mess managed to get a swan from the Royal Butcher, and they did it, you know, like mess chefs, really well-trained ones are like.
Legally?
Yeah, legally, properly. And they did this whole display of this swan with all the meat there as if it was a proper medieval banquet. So we all had a few slices.
What did
of
it taste
swan
like?
Gamey bird, yeah. You know,
gamey chicken?
It tasted like the Thames.
Yeah, like a proper gamey bird. But, yeah, all red meat.
Here's one, Nick, you could try. Hanging or beheading. Hanging or beheading.
Oh, this is the Swan Snarge soup pilots.
Yeah. Hanging or beheading. I don't think I can't, unless anybody else has anything else. I can't think of anything else.
That's good. That's fine.
Okay,
well done, everyone.
Okay, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Well,
bye.
I haven't even got a percentage on the upload yet.
That's because we haven't stopped the stream yet.
Yeah,
so.
that's why I'm
good point. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Go away. Go away.
Gone now.